Hello everyone, a powerful morning to all the unbreakable ones. So yesterday was Independence Day, Ukraine's Independence Day, and today, together with the Bird of Invincibility, one will try to sum things up. So what has happened in Ukraine over these 35 years? Let's take a look. Subscribe and let's go. We're so strong, planes are flying, we're going to bomb everyone. Hold on, young man, we'll get to all of that in a moment.
There must be something good. There are many people here who can talk about it. At the recruitment center, they assign people to the military and send them to the front lines, a bullet to the knee and then to the head.
This is for the civilian generals who are in Warsaw. Ukrainians are offering civilians a bullet to the knee, and that's what you heard. But let's hold off on that too. This is definitely an achievement. It's a really great development, but still, there must be some more or less real accomplishments. Well, and here we go. As you can see, we're not handling the description very well because one person comes out, then another. Here's an article about what Ukraine has achieved in 35 years of independence. The author is a true Ukrainian, Irina Rafagi. Rafagi, a purely Ukrainian last name. And she goes on to say that Ukraine has made a tremendous leap in the IT sector. What kind of leap is that? First, let's read. Ukraine has become the technological tiger of Europe. What a lion this tiger is, it's just envy-inducing. And what's there? Dia, the state in a smartphone. So, it's an app that sends telemetry from any Ukrainian, that spies on Ukrainians, that creates a digital de facto concentration camp. Is being held up as the perfect app. It was launched by none other than the former Minister of Digital Transformation, Fedorov, the same Fedorov who is now supposedly starting the third Maidan, apparently. And all of this is considered one of the state's most important innovations. Ukraine has become a leading country where electronic passports and other documents have the same legal force as their physical counterparts. Nothing to add or take away, no doubt about it. And then what next? Well, maybe they went to space, developed something. Yes, they did develop something. What have we developed here? Drones, anti-drone weapons. Are you kidding me? This is really all we've achieved in 35 years since independence. Ukrainian soldiers were the first to start using drones. At first they just attached grenades, then drones were described, and then a new unit of the armed forces of Ukraine was created, the Unmanned Systems Forces, where, by the way, a lot of these various U-shellists serve. Big heads and other Lutsenko types who basically don't do anything except probably occasionally launching drones. But for the most part, they go to the front, to their quarters, to restaurants, massage parlors, beauty salons, and pass all this off as what they've achieved in 35 years. With boneheaded leaders, what's next? Maybe let's move on. Artificial intelligence is being developed for services and business, and again, they show the military. In 35 years, the biggest achievement seems to be war. The integration of artificial intelligence technologies has gone far beyond just searching the web and chatting with chatbots. Here are satellite images of an object, and operators guiding drones, damn. But is there something here for people, not just for this meat grinder? Meat grinders. The situational awareness and support system uses computer vision technologies from the front lines again. Well, this is Irina Ilcheva. Besides the front lines, there are no achievements in it. Maybe there haven't been any at all in 35 years. 35 years, I never get tired of reminding you, is half the time the USSR existed. The very one that's being criticized and slandered in every possible way in Ukraine. Although it's worth reminding that only about 15 or 20 years passed after the Great Patriotic War and they sent the first person into space. Well, that's just how it turns out. Well, somehow they sent a person into space, sent spacecraft to Venus, to Mars, and really, where didn't they send them? What did Ukraine do? They sent a satellite somewhere. What can I say? Well, you see, the war started. 35 years have passed. Is the war still going? Yes, it's been going on for a long time. But for 30 years there was independence. Real, super independence. And even there, that civil war in Donbass and the bombings and everything, but it wasn't on the same scale as it is now. People died back then, but during all that so-called shameful ATO, about 10,000 people died, I think. Now, that many people probably die in a month on both sides. And during that time, surely something could have been done besides war. Besides, I'm not even talking about agreeing on peace, but surely something else could have been done. All right, what else? Cybersecurity, a new battlefield. Again, there's some guy standing there in some kind of military pajamas. Again, what's the connection? State Communications, Cyber Police, SBU, NSDC, or is it NSBU, a layered system of digital protection? Exactly, real independence. Wonderful. Besides the war, basically, they haven't achieved anything else. Well, and there's the Game Stalker too. That's it. Now we can jump for joy and give ourselves a cookie. Especially since it's a private company, not the state at all. Private company, yeah, good job. They developed an awesome game. Yeah, they made money from it. Good for them. No complaints, really. But it's a private company. What does the state have to do with it? Honestly, I don't get it. What do we have next? Here we also have Zaluzhny and the Iron General, who recently said that Ukraine doesn't need an economy, and who says otherwise? A charlatan. So meet the charlatan. There are two of them here at once. Me and Juan Sombrero, who can't handle this tension, the duties. And he also wrote a column, apparently to congratulate everyone. Moreover, on August 24, he is already going through some kind of desert. The journey can be compared to the exodus of the people of Israel from Egyptian captivity. What captivity? Where to? Who's going? Does Zaluzhny even realize that, well, the history of Ukraine and Israel is a bit different? Apparently, he wanted to use a metaphor to make some kind of comparison, but somehow it didn't go in the right direction. Then he goes on to talk about how not to give in anymore so that we can finally come out of the darkness of the desert. Then we need to analyze the path our country has already taken over these 35 years. Well, we've analyzed it, and apart from war, there's nothing else. And one of the products of all this is actually Zaluzhny. The powerful general, who only knows good morning in English and basically nothing else. And the planes are flying, we're gonna bomb. So what else have we achieved? They blocked Masha and the bear. Now that's power, that's really powerful. Russian-speaking, Ukrainian-speaking, and English-speaking channels are blocked. But all the promos, all three channels are listed in the NSDC sanction decision. Zelensky signed it. Everything is just great. It restricts Ukrainian children's access to this content. It deprives Russia of yet another platform for profiting from hybrid influence. For some reason, Zelensky's television series still bring in profits, as does Masha and the bear. Well, there are some paradoxes at every turn. And then suddenly they conducted some kind of survey at the end, at the tail end of these 35 powerful lessons, lethal lessons. They conducted a survey about whom people see as the president. And you will be surprised. Or rather, you won't be. Probably, but Zelensky takes first place. Can you imagine how thoroughly this survey was conducted and who they asked? They probably surveyed Yermak, Stefanchuk, and that whole group who stole so much money that it would be enough for 10,000 or even 100,000 normal people. An unpublished poll, we're told, about hypothetical presidential elections in Ukraine. Former Defense Minister Fedorov took third place with 16% of the votes. And in second place, this very Zaluzhny with 18, and then Zelensky with 21% of the votes. So if elections suddenly happen, the people will be forced to vote the way they're supposed to. And in this, DIA will probably help. Do you want to live and receive food from the government? Well, show the result of your vote. That very same anonymous one. Well, it's anonymous where it needs to be and where it doesn't need to be. So, what else have they achieved? Well, now I guess we can talk about the civil war and the shelling. Oh, and just yesterday, again, it was Independence Day. A patrol officer, a great policeman who is supposed to protect Ukrainians, got into a fight with a disabled person who had just come from the front lines, someone who had literally been through hell there. And here is a video that shows why, what, and how it happened. So a Ukrainian car is driving with these very soldiers, ex-soldiers, veterans. They stop it. The police officers get out. Again.
This very soldier starts saying, "Hey, stop!"
Well, something like that.
What kind of vehicles are at the front lines? We receive them, process them, fill them up.
Why do you do that? Guys, why these performances? Tell me, with all due respect to the military, you know, these shows, these fuck you gestures, it's just childish, really.
Yes, I agree. But come on, documents, order, everything needs to be checked. Please, actually, it's not clear. The priest says it's a reorganization. It's necessary. So please wait.
Free says it's a reorganization. Get your hands off me, damn it. It's a reorganization. So please, I'm asking.
And then, well, it went on from there. What happened next was just crazy. You can watch this video on my channel. Just point your smartphone or tablet camera at this QR code and you'll get to the channel with these videos. Or if you're watching me from a mobile device, there's a link to the Telegram channel right here in the video description. And the military really don't like either the draft office guys or these police officers. They could already be renamed. The militia was renamed to police. And now the police could just be renamed to collaborator cops. Nobody likes them anymore. Because why should they? If before, at least they provided some kind of safety for citizens. And even then, many of us know how they did it. Now it's just insane. These polizei themselves catch people on the streets and send them to the front instead of going themselves. Who is trained to shoot? The polizei. Why aren't they going to the front? That's just a rhetorical question. They say they're protecting Ukraine's security, and naturally the further it goes, the more military veterans there will be. People will come back from the war, and it won't just be about the police. Many people there think that civilians are no longer worthy of even talking to. They're considered second-class citizens now. The same goes for Dubula, too. And now there are constant attacks on Ukraine from Dubula as well. Zelensky posted that we'll be warming ourselves by the fire of burning ozone and wildberries warehouses. In winter, that's when there will be no electricity, no heat, nothing at all. Well, sorry, this is still happening now. For example, the Russian Federation attacked Ukraine with jet-powered drones. Just recently, on the 24th, residential high-rise buildings in Kyiv and Zaporizhia were damaged. On the night of August 25th, jet-powered drones were launched at Ukraine, attacking several cities. In Kyiv, around midnight, an air raid alert was announced due to the threat of hostile drones. After some time, explosions began in Kyiv, and residential buildings were damaged again. But at least there was no fire. Zaporizhia. Around midnight, Zaporizhia was also attacked by strike drones around midnight. An apartment building was damaged in the city and a fire broke out. Things got really intense there, right here. These are no longer residential buildings in Zaporizhia. Maybe there were some warehouses there. Well, who knows? Plus, Kharkiv was also attacked. Dnipro was attacked with a weapon called banderol. Here, a large shopping center was hit again. It caught fire. There were a series of explosions. A fire broke out. And here, for example, you can see how it all happened inside. There's a surveillance camera here. And in the end... sorry for that. Well, that's how it turned out. Sorry if it was too loud for anyone. I tried to make it quieter, but everyone has different settings. They were aiming at the Caravan shopping mall, but the strike hit the parking area next to the building. As a result, the cars parked there were destroyed, and civilians were injured. Next, this is of course about the protection of energy facilities. Right now, such a terrible situation is developing for the winter that those who understand it, namely the utility workers, or those who are responsible for the infrastructure, say that in winter, most likely, there won't be any. Not just scheduled power outages, but electricity will probably be available for only 1, 2, or 3 hours, and mostly at night. Secondly, there's nowhere to get heat from, because the thermal power plants have been destroyed. Last winter, not a single one. There were no casualties, they managed to repair something there. But how long-lasting and durable these repairs are, given the constantly increasing pressure, especially from the Russian Federation, is still a big question. Without electricity, the pumping stations won't work, and the sewage system won't work either, because the pipes are damaged. Something like that, the sewage system isn't working well, and with temperatures below zero, all of this will freeze, just like it did last winter, but even worse, because according to Klitschko, it's not fixed. In one of the videos, he said that every third apartment building, there are about 12,000 of them in Kyiv, I think, was damaged to some extent. Some were slightly damaged, some very badly, but still. Who was responsible for protecting the energy infrastructure from attacks? That same Afghan, Mustafa Naim, the one who organized the Maidan. What did he end up organizing? Nothing. Then he was fired for embezzlement. And Mustafa is gone now, he disappeared somewhere. But his brother showed up instead. Shmihal appeared. Shmihal, who is now surrounded by some girls and some guys, also says he's going to protect energy facilities and claims they're already protected. Honestly, I don't see any protection at all. There's an energy facility over there. There's some kind of pit dug out, but I don't see any grates, any nets, nothing at all. For example, in the UAE, the guys built a net literally out of rebar in just 4 months. And there, the net is very dense. You can immediately see that the facility is protected from drones. So there might be some damage, but it won't be that serious. They calculated the propagation of the blast wave, the possible scattering of shrapnel, and everything else. So now damage can only happen by accident or if a very powerful strike occurs. What kind of protection is there? Well, maybe Schmeihal or that girl who turned away, apparently unable to listen to all this nonsense anymore. Schmeihal tells us that energy is the main target of the enemy. Well, honestly, that's God-tier analysis. I think all analysts can quit effective today and their services are no longer needed. There's Schmeihal and that's it. No one else is needed. We have developed, he says, a unique shelter for energy facilities of different levels and capacities. Our energy engineers have created a unique engineering and technical protection that helps protect the energy sector. Energy facilities, even after being hit by ballistic missiles, are repaired within a week, not months. And he reported that this year almost 6,000 tons of energy equipment have already been sent from distribution hubs to regions and communities.
It's unclear whether it fits in pockets. Maybe it was sent as money. Well, we'll see in the winter how true that is.
In my opinion, at night, well, in winter to be precise, these same people will start howling saying, "Oh what, there's nothing, where are the pears?" And they didn't protect it? Well, that's just how it seems to me. And so, from a powerful leader, suddenly, just in the most unexpected way, a new peace proposal appeared. It's surprising, but it's a fact. Zelensky, they tell us, has presented a new peace proposal to end the war. What is it about? Let's ask ourselves this question. The Ukrainian side worked on this plan together with Trump's envoys and European officials. Well, it should be noted here that if the work started only with European officials, then, wow, there's a lot going on there. Please, Heister, Secham exclusive for way how them P blaststream. The publication says that the plan includes several main parts. The first is a ceasefire. Just wonderful. That's genius. That's worthy of the greatest minds of humanity. Next is the creation of a free economic zone. This is in the devastated area, which is usually called neutral territory after a truce, but now it's called a free economic zone. Apparently they want to do it following the South Korea-North Korea model. Ukraine and Russia must simultaneously withdraw their troops to a certain distance, and the territory from which the troops are withdrawn can become a buffer zone under the control of a third party. Who will it be? Of course, the Americans. Come on, they're all wonderful people. But honestly, this global... It could become something. Maybe it's kind of weak, or maybe it won't become anything at all. It might not happen suddenly. That's also possible. The third part is the actions of the EU and NATO, and the steps that Ukraine is ready to take within the framework of these agreements. These proposals, we are told, are not exclusively Ukrainian. They were developed jointly with representatives of the US, the EU, and in addition, they will also discuss them with Russia. Russia also has its own plan. Putin noted the following. In the State Duma, they announced their own deadline for ending the war in Ukraine, an absolute victory by 2030. Oh, well, apparently that's all been said. Again, it was supposed to be Kyiv in 3 days, and now it's by 2030. Apparently this is some kind of relativity. The theory of relativity applies here. Well, in general, that's another victory too. The State Duma of the Russian Federation stated that Russia should finish the war against Ukraine by 2030. Moreover, the result should be an absolute victory. But apparently the border will stretch all the way to some ocean or maybe even to Easter Island. A Russian publication writes that a member of the KMI said this. It doesn't matter who it was. Anyway, that's what was said. Everyone wants to fight Russia to inflict a strategic defeat, Russian deputies stated. Therefore, by 2030, Moscow must manage to finish the war against Ukraine in order to start resisting NATO, which, in principle, also doesn't seem to be planning to attack Russia. Those in the Russian Federation are shouting that Russia is going to attack NATO, while the others are shouting that NATO is going to attack Russia. But, in general, by 2030, apparently, someone will end up attacking someone. If the economy still allowed them to fight with something other than stones and sticks, like it was in the Third World War. The participants in armed conflicts will be fighting with stones and sticks, because there will be no resources, no technology, and no people left. Let's hope, of course, that this isn't the case. but in general, everything is moving exactly in that direction. But there's another victory, by the way. I forgot to mention it, and that's that the rise in fuel prices in Ukraine has even surpassed the leading EU country. Over the past year, fuel in Ukraine has become noticeably more expensive. 30% more than a year earlier. In the EU, that's about 16%. And overall, that's true. But apparently, there are still wealthy people left in Ukraine who can afford fuel. And now, let's take a look at the powerful leaders. I haven't shown them in a while for some reason. I'm ashamed, so let's take a look now. One of them is the mighty old man Tuka, who keeps hammering away and makes us feel melancholy.
From the point of view of, first of all, the economy.
Everyone's wearing embroidered shirts. Everyone's just in embroidered shirts. I'm already so annoyed by this pretentiousness. Well, there's even just an expert.
And secondly, the destabilization of the internal situation in the Russian Federation itself. Really, there's just a strange kind of slavery in their minds and in their character.
Well, yeah, by the way, Tuka also said that you should shoot civilians there. If you attack a military recruitment officer, a mobilization officer, a manhunter, then you should be shot too. But there's no slavery in Ukraine. It's in Russia. Yes, slavery, says Tuka. And in Ukraine, anyone can leave, anyone can work wherever they want. There's plenty of money. Well, for Tuka, probably, but not for other people. But still, Tuka is doing well. Apparently, he thinks everyone is doing well. There's no slavery. Well, listen, come on.
You can spend hours, maybe even days, looking for fuel. And as a result, food prices have already started to rise. I was very pleasantly surprised by the number of people crossing the state border.
By the way, Tuka talked about this earlier in another video. I showed you that one with the same journalist. He started whining that he went to the supermarket and everything was on the shelves, and this same journalist looked at him like that. And I don't even know what his name is. Anyway, Volodymyr Rahulevich or maybe Batka. Anyway, it doesn't matter what his name is. I said, listen, I only went into 2 supermarkets. There really wasn't anything on the shelves. And he goes, well, I wasn't trying to paint the whole picture. But that's all you need to know about this guy's analysis and about his cognitive abilities in Russia.
And the fact that in one day, 20,000 people crossed the state border, fleeing from possible mobilization. The situation in Russia is objectively not positive.
Yes. And now let's listen to the situation in Ukraine. How many people are leaving, excuse me for the word, Ukraine? Here, we're being told complete nonsense.
Currently, on weekdays, for several weeks now, the passenger flow has not dropped below 120,000 border crossings.
There, he was just happy that 20,000 people are leaving Russia, but here 120,000 Ukrainians are leaving. Well, now Demchenko will tell us the following.
And on these weekends, especially on Saturday and Sunday, in fact, the numbers are even higher. This year and last year, the number of people leaving Ukraine is higher. Well, because it's the start of the vacation season overall, the beginning of the holiday season, and the end of the school year, and especially mothers with children, that's the category that adds the most to those crossing the border.
Well, of course, and it seems like the number of people in Ukraine is increasing. Apparently people are coming from abroad. I'm packing my suitcase right now, of course, to go to my beloved homeland. After all these strong statements, all those Tukas and these Demchenkos and others. Well, now we have another character. Let's call him Yozin Zbazin. On the left is young Lenin, on the right is Yozin Zbazin. And why? Well, I'll show you now. This is a Czechoslovak song, I think. And also from the 70s or something. And there was Yozin Zbazin, that's Yozin from the swamps. They're basically identical.
Yozin Zbazin, he creeps through the marshes.
Yozin tells us the following.
If there were a law that allowed only those who have already served to have a deferment, and the factory needs to produce drones. Why? Numbers...
Why aren't you making drones at the factory? Why aren't you serving? That's my question, but it's clearly not about how he looks. But this is apparently a consequence of not exactly having a body-positive attitude toward himself. Maybe they take all sorts of drinks there that support the body's energy balance with 5 of yours, but yes.
Well... They should be produced by someone who hasn't been to the front, but only sees the numbers.
And young Lenin even turned gray for a while. His hair turned gray, thinking, when will they stop talking nonsense about what's happening?
For those who evade, the pressure is increasing. And yesterday I read that they will block bank accounts or something like that, and so on. Oh, it's getting very interesting. Or they'll suspend the licenses of those who don't serve. I say that you could have thought about them 3 years ago.
ASEAN, Sabajin, bites and chokes on Chojin from the swamp. Who would have thought of that?
So, do you serve or what? That's a veteran, but our Yojin from the towers is a veteran, or what?
Pay on the floor already. Mr. Hertz Maslow is in shock.
He was really looking at the clock so he could run to the restaurant on Frint, to eat something tasty. That's it. But here are two people who didn't serve. Well, then let's block their cards. Let's take away their rights. Well, that's her own fault. First of all, initiative is punished. That's how things are. In Ukraine, there's no slavery, no corruption. Maya, in general, it takes for 35 years. That's wonderful. Goodbye, everyone.
The situation is such that sooner or later, everyone will have to fight. And the question is whether you'll come in inexperienced and unprepared and end up wherever you end up, or you'll come in already trained, prepared, and understand what job you'll be doing. Our team is very friendly. Everyone gets along and keeps a positive attitude.